So today I was joined by Tristan Evans of Motion Project Management. They're a very small niche company who specialise in the arena space, industrial and DNO, which is quite an interesting space to be in. What's really fascinating is this business is only 4.5 years old, and they probably already are the go-to within the arena project management space. So it's interesting to hear Tristan's story there. You'll get across that this guy is super passionate about what he does and the way he runs his business. And then to add more complexities to his business, he's also set up a turnkey contracting business, which is quite interesting. I'm seeing more consultancy businesses going down the construction management route, which again is interesting. Lastly, Tristan works with his wife in the business, which again is an interesting dynamic that we jump into. I think you'll enjoy this one. So, welcome to the next episode of Growing Consultancies. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Tristan Evans of Motion Project Management. Welcome, Tristan.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, lovely to be here.
Oh, I'm really chuffed you're here. So, Tristan, to begin with, can you just tell people a bit about the business, size of business, maybe turnover, office locations?
Yeah, so we are based out of Manchester. There's about 12 in Manchester. We've got a couple of people in London, and then we've just set up a new office out of Scotland. So we're in Glasgow at the moment.
Right.
So sort of full breadth of the country is what we cover. But we also have done historically quite a lot of work out in Europe as well. So, that's pretty good going.
Brilliant.
So headcount's about 15 at the moment. And this year we should be touched to get just under 2 million in turnover.
Yeah. Good. Perfect. And sectors that you focus on?
Focus a lot in arena world. So, arena redevelopment, refurbishment, leisure spaces. One of our big names was the Mamma Mia, the party theatre dining experience out of the O2 that everyone always, every job interview everyone comes to with us, they always go, wait, I saw on your website you did Mamma Mia. I love that. So we've got one of those coming. We've got one that's under wraps at the moment that everyone will love even further as well. So we do a lot of that sort of cooler, boutique-y stuff. And then outside of that, we do a lot of industrial. So we've got about 3 million square feet of industrial redevelopment that we're doing at the moment, spotted around the country. So that's a real growing sector for us. And then we work a lot in sort of highly operational areas that's led in from sort of our arena redevelopment work. So, for instance, when we worked at the AO here in Manchester, we were sort of refurbishing areas of space in really difficult environments. So, around 130 shows a year, we were, spending sort of 50 million quid.
Right.
And we were doing it in, sort of trenches and how complex that was, that it then opened the door to work in other environments. So we work a lot with the big utility providers. So, the DNO space, we do a lot of work with them because they're highly protected sites like arenas are. They are really complex to work on. They're very, very technical in the way that arenas are. So there's a real sort of crossover between those spaces.
Quite interesting.
And so we sort of work in 3 sectors effectively, and it's arenas in any shape and size and any sort of leisure work and that sits off the back of that. There's industrial, that's a big growing arm of ours, and we've got an awful lot of pipeline in that. And then we work in what we call highly operational spaces, and it's applying sort of, the technicalities that we've learned from other environments into anything that's highly operational, like the depots. So we built one of the emergency response units, which I find fascinating, but effectively it's one big shed and an office block out in Derbyshire that responds to all of the big gas and infrastructure problems that happen around Greater Manchester.
Right.
So we've rebuilt the stores and, all that sort of exciting stuff that I get super nerdy about. They're our main sort of 3 sectors. We've historically done bits of resi and high-end resi, but normally that's from clients that we work for that say, can you do my house for me?
Right, okay, you've done a good job and they want you to do a bit more.
That's everything that we work on is recommendation.
Right. And then obviously before we hit go on the cameras, you were saying that you now jumped into turnkey contracting. Just to add to the fun.
For our own fun and for our own sins, I've been asked to do it so many times. My dad is actually a contractor as well.
Okay.
So it's in the blood and the genes, effectively. Right. And, one thing that we've always tried to do as a PM business is build everything on time and in budget. Right? And we really stand by that as well. Yeah. We'll go to the nth degree for clients to make sure that happens.
Right.
And a number of clients had approached me in the past, literally 3-4 years ago, to say, can you do construction management? And I've always said no. I've always said I haven't got the infrastructure for it. I haven't got the right business for it. It's not going to happen. But people just kept on knocking at the door to say, can you do full turnkey for us? And we just said, you know what, let's just give it a whirl. And we've worked on some fairly complex stuff, and we're still delivering on time, still delivering on budget, and we're taking control of that a little bit more, which is a really nice thing to be able to do.
And so within that part of the business, what typically you're talking in terms of contract value for a scheme?
We'll go up to about 5 million.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so we've got a really steady book at the moment for the next sort of 12 months or so. We've done a lot of offices, quick in and out spaces, because it's what we've done in arena world. So I've got some fantastic people that are from that world as well. So I've got sort of one of the ex-directors of a big fit-out business that came into us PM side. But, the opportunity came and we both saw it and sort of, I pushed him into it and said, Pete, how do you fancy doing this? Yeah, right. And whether he's taken it smiling or not, he's done a fantastic job of it. So... we've got some great people that are working in it and just keep delivering.
And these are all primarily the same clients that you're providing consultant PM services for?
Mixture of people. So some people we hadn't done loads of work for because the project values probably weren't right for us as a PM business. So where the project values weren't right for us, we worked with, we sort of said, look, listen, we're not going to be the best people to provide project management services for you. And they come back to us and said, well, what about if you build it for us? Right. And I sort of said, well, okay, fine, we'll do it.
Right.
But it's taken me 3 years to build the right infrastructure to do it, right. To manage the risk in the right way, make sure you've got the right supply chain to do it. And that's taken a lot of research. It's taken an awful lot of preparation from our team internally as well to be able to deploy on things. And it's just set us up in the right way. And it helps with smoothing the curves on, fees that are coming in and out of the business. So, we work on some big projects and we're truly proud to be a part of some of those big projects. But, some of the stuff that we're working on is 200 million plus. Sometimes things go into planning for a year, 18 months.
Yeah.
And it, there's a hit on that. And I've always been somebody that wants to bring people into the business, train them as well as we possibly can, and keep them there. And, that just helps with the smooth curves of fees in and out. And, we typically don't let people go if we can try and keep hold of them.
And there's irony there, isn't there? Because I think probably a lot of businesses would assume, or a lot of outsiders, let's say, would assume that actually a professional services consultancy environment probably does have a nice steady line of income, whereas a contracting organisation's income's probably all over the place. Yeah. So it's quite interesting that you say it's almost the other way around.
It helps both sides, I think.
Right, okay.
The contracting side becomes very, very hot and heavy at points.
Yeah.
Which is intense for the business.
Yeah.
But the consultancy side obviously does provide that sort of steady revenue and income that comes with it. But then, if something goes on hold or, a developer says, I need to just put all of the pencils down and stop, guys, I can't pay you for the next 6 months. You then can't just instantly go and find another big project because, not everyone has that capacity to do that. So the infill and intensity of fit-out projects works quite well with that sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And is it the same team working across both? Or you've got separate?
Separate mainly, and that's just from a, PI and contractual perspective.
Right. Okay.
That typically they work differently. Some of the team sometimes do work across both, but never with the same client, of course. And effectively, it does provide lots of opportunity. We've got an assistant project manager called Freya, and she's just absolutely loved working across the construction business. She's taken it in her stride, and she's just done an amazing job of it. We've got really happy clients out the back of it. And I genuinely think it's because of the diligence that she's learned in the project management business and all the structure and the right infrastructure for projects, and seen the problems that she has on with contractors in those projects and applied that in construction. And I think it's really nice.
And probably a nice thing for you to do is you bring on other kind of junior people, so you have them working both sides of the business, so they can understand both sides of the fence.
It's really nice because we were literally talking about it earlier today and saying that, you know, what do we need to do internally within the business? And we were saying, right, we did a contract training session 12 months ago on, you know, we actually worked on NEC and JCT, and we went, well, we need to do that both sides now, which is really interesting. And then when you're working for a client, you then understand that, you know, you're protecting the client against X, Y, and Z. But if you're working as a contractor, you're trying to protect yourself against X, Y, and Z. But, you know, we only really work for people that we know really well. You know, there's limited risk in what we try and sort of put ourselves out to do. And, you know, it works quite well. Yeah,
because obviously, sadly well publicised that, you know, the number of contractors and subcontractors that are routinely go on bust, particularly including in that D&B space that you're essentially operating in or competing against.
Yeah.
And so some would argue, are you mad? Why are you taking that extra degree of risk and complexity?
You are, and you have to ascertain the amount of risk that you're taking on.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look at the way that you're being paid. You have to look at contract terms in terms of what level of risk that you're taking on and what sort of stuff you're actually delivering against.
Yeah.
With this skill set in the business, you know, we take a view on that on every project, you know, and there's a lot of work that we decline, and I have declined in the past. You know, we've had some really big projects put in front of us, even in the last 12 months, from a construction perspective, I've just gone, that's not for us. You know, it's not right. It's, you know, you don't just want to chase turnover. We want to do the best job every single time. And that's whether it's in the consultancy business or it's whether it's in the construction business. It doesn't really make a difference in my...
And that's arguably where some contracts, unfortunately, go wrong. They go from being a mid-tier or a regional contractor, science stuff up to that, and then and the increased degree of risk and lack of knowledge for the degree of risk taken on is what, and one bad job sinks them.
We talk about this all the time. It's that one job, right? It's that one job that sinks a contractor, and they then unfortunately have to cherry pick from other jobs to then keep that job afloat. So we just take it very steady, do a good job every time, you know, and that's our motto in both of our businesses effectively that we do. So, you know, I think that way it limits our risk quite a lot.
So what you're telling me there, Chris, about Motion, is that separate? So is there another set of staff that are sat in the thing, or is that part of the numbers you gave me there? Was that the overall?
No, so that's the overall business. Okay. We have the ops team effectively that sit within Motion. So there's sort of four people that sit within the ops team there as well, and they really, really help out on the construction side, as you can imagine. So dealing with, you know, HR, finance, and processing constantly, the operations of how sites come together. So I'm not going to lie, we've relied heavily on them over the last sort of 12 months or so, and you know, they've done a great job. We were always built in the right way, or tried to build in the right way where we could scale. And you know, as you know, the consultancy market, because projects aren't getting delivered out at the moment, and especially the bigger ones become harder, we've tried to find an alternative use for that as well. And you know, we love the team that we built, and we're trying to scale it, and we thought, you know what, we want to just keep this team and keep growing, and we've been asked all these questions to do turnkey, and was like, right, okay, we got to do it.
You're saying you're almost set up for that growth. So I'm intrigued. Obviously, a question a lot of people want to know about is kind of jumping around my set of questions I normally ask. But what is your kind of tech stack? How are you managing all that? Because I imagine, for example, running a turnkey contracting business, it's just by default probably more admin, paperwork heavy in some ways.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual administration of the business, obviously, I appreciate you've got all of admin and paperwork in terms of managing a project as a PM consultancy, but you know what I mean? So what are you doing to kind of make sure
I like
didn't go crazy?
Our business is, you know, PM business and construction, but we've always been set around 3 pillars in the business, and we try and repeat them in everything that we do.
Yeah.
So, you know, kindness and caring is one of them. So like making sure clients are absolutely bang on every single time, and if there's a problem, we get at it straight away. And the sort of problem solving has always been one of our big things. So we've always made sure that everything we've ever done has had some form of problem solving or unlocking problems for people. So, you know, we've always been renowned for sort of getting the impossible done. You know, and there's so many stories about that I could go into and bore everyone to hell. And the last one is simplicity. And coming back to your question about tech stacking and keeping things simple, like, you know, we use Microsoft to our advantage with everything that we do. So, you know, we're big SharePoint believers. Everything is controlled by SharePoint, and then reporting at the back of it is all through, you know, our own documentation, the way that we've set that up as well. So, you know, whether that's in contracting or it's in the PM business, like we're big Microsoft fans, like genuinely, like, you know, we run all of our inquiries list and everything else through sort of the planner version of Microsoft Projects, which is great. I run a lot of like personal admin and my project stuff out of it as well. So, you know, I'm on my phone constantly, like you are. I walk into the room and you're literally on your phone 24/7, and I can feel that you have to be right. It's about running a business. And the ability to be able to use like Planner and put things down and send them to the office, and someone's got an action straight away with a target date that sits around it. Like, I love that.
Brilliant.
I'm just about simplifying the hell out of everything, and that really helps.
But the whole 365 ecosystem is massive, isn't it? There's so for almost everything.
It's got everything you want on it as well. And, you know, we've looked at alternative versions of it. We've looked at Monday, we've looked at others, we've looked at integrated tech with Amy, who works in the business as well, and she's also my wife. She heads up operations in our business, and she is super tech focused on the entire business. And you know, she was like one of the first people to bring AI into our business. How do we utilize AI in the best ways we can? How do you utilize it from a bid perspective? You know, how do you use Copilot to help you rewrite things? How do you make sure that, you know, when you're writing a contractual document that you want to make sure is going out the door, that the grammar that sits behind it is really good? And we've always tried to invest in that as much as we possibly can.
Brilliant. Good. Excellent. Going back, I think you may have answered this question earlier without knowing it. People always like to know how you got into the industry.
Yeah. So
I know you said your dad had
my dad had a contracting business.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny, that we go back sort of 5 minutes ago in our conversation about people going bust.
Right.
My dad literally went bust 3 times
Right.
with a contracting business. And I love my dad to pieces, and he's my idol. But he was never great at paperwork.
Yeah.
So my dad ran a little construction business, and I saw an architect's office that was above him, and then he literally had a nice car outside the front of his office, and I went, what does that guy do? I want to get stuck into that. And I literally went, right, there's a guy that sort of knows what he's doing. My dad had a load of people working for him, loads of hassle, all that sort of stuff. And I went, there's a guy out there that's got a really nice car, and his office looks better than my dad's. And I was like, oh, he's doing something right. So I went into architecture. I studied architecture. I was rubbish at drawing, to the point of where I had to I was applying for universities, and I came to Manchester, and they literally declined me on first entry. They were like, you've got the grades, like that's cool, but your drawing is so bad that they were genuinely like, your drawing is so bad that you're not getting in. So my sister, and I probably shouldn't say this on live air, but my sister was really good at drawing, so she helped me quite a lot to help pull my portfolio together. And I reissued it, got into that, and then I then went into practice, and I was working for like a practice in like Gloucester, like Bristol way of all places. And and like I just got put on the stuff that was about construction. So I was doing refurb work in office buildings, and I was drawing it all out and really enjoying it. And then I would then go to site, and then like that's the days where all the architects were contracts administrators as well.
Yes, yeah.
So I was contracts administrator, and I was like, oh, I quite like this. This, like, I'm drawing something, it's getting built, and I was like, oh, that's quite interesting. But I was rubbish at drawing, and like I hated it. Like I hated being sat in front of a TV. And then I eventually moved to another architect's practice, and they had a multi-disc. So they were architects, quality surveyors, project managers, and called CMS Group, based in Bristol, little small multi-disc, great team. And I just saw the project managers doing loads of stuff, and I was like, oh, that's really exciting. And I'm just sat behind a computer, and I was like, oh, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I got seconded into a project with a big main contractor, and I just loved dealing with all the problems and all just problem solving left, right, and centre. And I was sort of a bit of a technician, bit of a design manager that sat with it, and I was just loving coordinating people on site and working out the best solution to a problem. And I just got chatting to my old boss Peter Blake, and I just said to him, I'd love to do this. I'd love to get into project management. Like, can you take me under your wing? And like a lot of resistance internally, architect to project manager, like so much internal resistance, which was great. And then just got into it that way, and just like worked as hard as I possibly could, like as many hours as I possibly could. You know, I sat there with the fundamentals of CIOB, like literally going through it page by page, trying to take in as much as I possibly could.
Amazing. So how old were you when you started that journey as a PM?
22.
Right, brilliant.
22. Yeah, 21, 22. Yeah, no, 22. Yeah, I would have been 22, yeah.
And so then where did your career go from CMS? Where did you go?
I then CMS to a place called Jackson Coles in London.
Oh, yeah.
So I moved down to Jackson Coles, who you guys all know as well.
Yeah.
So I was there for 3-4 years, something like that, as a senior project manager. So I worked my way up at CMS. Tried to work as hard as I possibly could everywhere I went, and then that's where I did a lot of work at the O2.
Okay.
And so I did a lot of the redevelopment work at the O2,
Right.
helped with, building cinemas, getting involved in lots of stuff around there, did a lot of the redevelopment works when I was there as well. Really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. And then I got the opportunity to work on a sort of big master planning project with AECOM. So I was working on Canada Water, the Canada Water scheme with British Land. And
So you moved to AECOM, or that was still at Jackson Coles?
no, I moved to AECOM
Okay.
after about 4 years. Moved to AECOM as an associate director at that point. And I was there for just about another 2 years working on Canada Water, master plan for British Land. So I was running some big project stuff down there. And then all clients just sort of kept on coming back to me and saying, can you do another project? And I was running a little team at AECOM, absolutely loving it, really, really enjoying the size and the scale of these projects. There were sort of 300-400 million. It was crazy. And we were like placing contracts that weren't actually going to go into contract for another 2 years. And I was like, that's mind-boggling. Yeah. But loving it, loving the exposure, all of that sort of stuff. And then eventually, just clients kept on coming back to me and just saying, will you do a project for me? And I was like, I don't have any more time to do any more work. I was like, there was a ceiling in what I could have done at AECOM for the amount of time that I was there. So I just took the jump and started Motion at that point.
And so what year was that when you set up Motion?
Was that 2021? Yeah, 2021.
Right, so just coming out of COVID, I guess. Yeah. So brave time.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. It was a crazy time to start a business. Like, it was nuts.
Crazy time to start a business in the arena space. Yeah, I would have thought.
Well, it was kind of crazy because so one of the first projects we worked on was Wolverhampton Halls, that sort of started as a smaller project. Will you do a bar fit out for us? And I was like, that's easy, I can do that in my sleep, sort of thing, no stress. We ended up taking more and more work off the main contractor because effectively they'd just couldn't get it completed in the timeframes that we needed. So it turned into a much bigger project. But the COVID thing sort of helped venues generally in some ways if they had the capital to deploy. So if they had the capital to deploy, it meant that you could get a lot of work done in a really short space of time. So you take the AO arena that we refurbished, and we started design in January. We sort of concluded design by April. We were on site by June, and we had to finish by September, and we spent just under £8 million.
Right. Because contracts were available and you didn't have the complexity of site being a live site.
I would say that, yeah. In a nutshell, yes. But, Galliford Try were the main contractor, did a fantastic job, in fairness to them. And they were doing 3 shifts a day. They were really gearing up. They had an amazing supply chain that could just deal with that level of input and movement. We had to be open by the 2nd of September because Snoop Dogg was coming out. Right. But he never turned up. So that was even more depleting. But we had to finish by the 2nd of September. And in the arena space and the venue world, you can't not have a no-show. We've all said the headlines of other venues and stuff, but you can't have a no-show. Like, that's just, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. But it was quite an interesting time still, because 2021 there was probably still a lot of people going, oh, this is it. You're never going to have mass events again, because
that's weird. Yeah, we were looking at feasibilities for venues all across Europe at one point, and we were like, is this ever actually going to get built? We were like, we didn't know what was going to happen in that space at all. And fortunately, a lot of the investors had long sight in this, and they thought it was going to return. So I'd say, like, 2021, 2022 in the arena world was our craziest time in both venues and theatres as well. Like, you had buildings that had been closed for 3-4 months at least that needed to also be brought back up to standard, and they saw it as an opportunity to invest and do the right things.
Brilliant. And
a lot of our clients that did that really saw a lot of benefit off the work that they got as well.
So some of that was look, you make your own look in this world, and clearly, just as you were pointing back to Tristan, you kept having clients continually coming back to you saying, can you help us? Can you help us?
Yeah.
So you obviously did a brilliant job, but sometimes in the evolution of a business, you hit sometimes a business gets lucky at hitting the right things at the right time, and obviously
100%.
The arena space is a great space now, and you're probably, I imagine, there'll probably some of the big larger multidisciplinaries who have specialist teams in that space, but there's probably not many specialist consultants who operate as a PM in the space that you operate in.
No, we're really lucky. We've worked with some fantastic partners. We work for some fantastic people as well. So, we work for, or have worked for, most of the operators that are out there. So we're really, really lucky with that. I don't know. You just have to stay humble about this sort of stuff, right? And we've just. I just call it luck, and just keep doing a good job, and that's all that you can do, right? As sort of, we're super specialist in that world. We know everything about it. I mean, one of the guys that works for me, Harrison, I actually called him out, and he came to do an interview with me, and this is when we were mainly doing arena-y stuff, and our website was like, a theatre here, the theatre in Manchester, or they were doing a big theatre down in Bristol, or we were doing the big AO project at the time as well. And he came in and he was like, I not intimately know arenas, but I also know how to rig them. And I was like, that's really niche. I was like, I'm going to have to call bullshit on that. And I was like, it makes no sense that you've come from project management background, but you know how to rig a building, which is basically where they put the stage up, put it down, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, so if this is real, like, when's your next thing? And he was like, it's tonight at the AO. And I was like, what concert? And he was like, I don't know, Taylor Swift. I can't even remember who it was. And I was like, I'm going to call the GM and check. So I called GM, who used to be this lady called Jen Mitchell. And I was like, is this happening? And he was like, yeah, that show's going ahead. And I was like, cool, right. And I just gave him a job. I was just like, you're perfect for it.
Yeah.
I was, and it's some of that specialism that we brought into the business that's really helped us. But we take people from a broad spectrum as well. So, like, I talked about Pete earlier, that's from a fit-out background. Pete's the most detailed guy when it comes into finishing a project. There's no one that can finish a project better than him. We've got sort of others in the business that are from, like, a geotechnical background. So working out ground conditions in every project is super hard. But Kate and her team, she really understands the ground, and it just sort of means that she can unlock problems better than anyone else. So not to say we don't, but we've taken on a broad spectrum of people that have got a lot of experience in different sectors, and it really helps with collaboration in the business.
Yeah, brilliant. And like you said, you're pretty humble there, just saying you've been lucky, but you're in 3 sectors, I would say, reflecting on it, that are good sectors to be in terms of they're not going anywhere. They should. Yeah. I think as we move into whatever the next 5 or 10 and 20 years brings for us, I think there's more focus now, isn't there, on big venues, but also some of the stuff, it sounds like you're doing more of an experiential thing.
We do a lot of experiential stuff.
That's booming now, isn't it? People are mad for it.
It's everywhere. You look at London's always the test bed for everything. Yeah. Typically, so whether that's West End theatre or it's venues and arenas, effectively, London's always the test bed for that. And we do a lot of work in London. But like some of the stuff that you see, you've got sort of like the Troubadour Theatre's coming out in North Greenwich at the moment, which is a big theatre, but it's all temporary. Yeah. It's a meanwhile space, effectively, that you see. So when we look at, when we're asked to be invited as part of a bid for a big master plan up here in Manchester, we look at this so differently to everyone else. Right. So we've recently bid on a few things with people and gone, well, actually, you could put a little micro venue in the bottom of there, and and they're like, what? And you could probably have like a theatre dining space, or actually, if you thought about a little tiny cocktail bar with a door just sticking out of the back there, and, it's that sort of thinking that adds a bit of flavour to it. So I think that the industry is growing an awful lot in hospitality generally. You look at figures being spent in hospitality as well, and the growing number of experiences that are happening. I still think it's a growing sector, and we're invested into it heavily. But some of these are big institutional projects as well, so they need the right level of governance too. So that's what we try and do, is work in these environments, but also provide the right level of governance in all of them as well. Yeah. Good. But equally, industrial and DNO stuff, again, is your thing will just keep growing because of where we are. Yeah, I mean, the industrial bit is that, we are really good at getting power to sites. We work really hard with the IDNOs of the DNOs to secure power to the sites as well. That is one of the biggest drivers, and it's just problem solving. I just see buildings as problem solving constantly, and doing our best job all the way through. And that space is just one that we've sort of fallen into and done a good job in it, and we'll continue to do it. But if the level of housing that is proposed to be built is built, then you need a lot of industrial space to facilitate it. There's a real lack of industrial space at the moment. I think I read there's like 200 million square feet of industrial space that's needed to build the 1.5 billion homes that everyone keeps on talking about. So if one goes, then the other has to go with it, sort of thing. And we're not known for doing resi, but we do quite a lot of industrial, so it works quite well. And then the operational environments for the DNOs and stuff, just really good at problem solving. So unlocking these solutions to people becomes quite easy. Right. We put a lot of trust in the team. Yeah, I was going to say, you're making it sound easy than it is, I suppose. But it's technical, but as soon as you start to understand the requirements, you can sort of rinse and repeat that for highly technical jobs. And that's what you can do with these DNO people. That's what you can do with others as well, in arenas or wherever that project might be. Cool. So what's the plans for the business? Where do you see yourself in, 5 years' time? Oh, it's a good question. I have a number of mentors that help me understand that question. The first thing is always delivering. Being a high quality, small niche consultancy and turnkey contractor is really important to us. I think we've looked at a lot of business planning over the last sort of 4 and a bit years that we've been going, and whenever we look at headcount, whenever we look at turnover, whenever we look at everything else, it all goes awry anyway, because you'll have projects that won't turn off, you'll have projects that do go off, and you'll have projects that Jesus Christ, we didn't think that was ever going to come off. So
yeah.
I think it's really hard to plan in the current sort of political and geopolitical environment that we're in terms of like our exponential growth.
Yeah.
I think, we're growing,
Yeah.
like generally, which is really nice.
Good.
We're still busy. We still have a lot of inquiries, which is fantastic. There's a lot of really exciting stuff that we've got in the pipeline as well. We've got some big stuff in planning at the moment. So we're really excited to get that going. But we'll keep growing and just be renowned in what we do and just be the best at it.
Because sometimes the temptation is in business that you keep bolting more things on or go after other things, and there's actually value as long as just being a real specialist and just being known for that. Like the arena space, take for example, you genuinely. I can't think of another organisation who could say we are a specialist in that space.
Yeah. I mean, we've got big theatre in Glasgow. We're doing an arena at Edinburgh. We've got something else in the north as well that we're looking at the moment. We've done Wembley Arena. We've done the O2. We've done most venues outside of that. We've worked on many other theatres that sit outside of that. We've done leisure spaces. So I'm like, oh, actually, without even really realising it, we actually are really specialists in this now. So that really helps. And you stick to your knitting, right? And you do a really good job of that every single time. And that's what I'm obsessed about, is like just getting better and better and better with each year that we grow.
Ultimately, reputation goes a long way. If you don't have reputation, then you don't have reputation for doing a good job, then
it's everything.
You're not going to grow, are you? How do you think? Because certainly, I hear some of the larger consultants are doing the odd arena. How do you think you guys have managed to probably occupy a niche so quickly? Because, like you say, you're only 4.5 years old. It's not like you've probably been going 20 years and you build up that reputation in the space.
How, like, a few key people, I would say.
Right.
There's a few key people that have been fundamental to that. Client of ours called Alistair Wood. He's EVP at AEG, which is the own and operate the O2 and various other things.
Right.
He very kindly has put lots of trust in us.
Good.
And others that sit outside of that. I mean, there's a guy called Tom Lynch that's a fellow Mancunian as well. He really supported us during our growth in Manchester as well when we were doing the AO Arena. It's all about relationships. Every single bit of it is about relationships, and we've always gone the extra mile for everyone. There's so many stories of where we've gone the extra mile for people, and I think that's the most important thing is the consultancy. We do things differently. Mm-hmm. We have all the governance, all the structure, everything else. We do the reporting. We're accredited. We have the right levels of PI that stack against it. We're very easy to use as well. We're very user friendly, and I think that helps. But ultimately, it's about having the relationship with the key decision makers and really honing in on them and doing as best of a job for them as you possibly can, and just completely stretching out of your comfort zone as well. If someone needs some help with an appraisal, or they need some help with a presentation deck, we just get stuck in and we do it. We don't ask any questions about it. We just do it. If someone needs some help with setting up as part of the PC, or someone needs some help with getting some chairs in. In the past we've literally ferried chairs into the AO Arena at silly o'clock in the morning. We've put AHUs onto the roof at the Palace Theatre in Manchester at 2 a.m. in the morning. We were there to see the crane drop.
Right.
And it's that's where we provide a bit of niche, and that's where the team are really committed to just do whatever it takes.
Amazing. No, that's absolutely brilliant. It's 4.5 years in. It sounds like it's been a bit of a rocket ship in many ways in terms of what you've done. What lessons have you learned, good and bad, about running a business?
Oh my God. It's really funny you say that. We've literally just come from an internal, everyone, let's sit in the meeting and just talk about stuff, because it's never perfect.
No.
It's really not perfect. I think sort of some of the key things that I've literally just taken away from a session we've had today was getting clear communication internally, being as clear as you possibly can, internally and externally. I think that really helps to unlock so many problems, whether it's, people's own personal issues or problems or whatever else. I think that's super important. And I think that, other things that sit outside of that are, how to keep all of your team motivated, how to really keep all of your team motivated and keep them wanting to be part of the brand that you're building with them.
And so how have you done that, Tristan? Or how do you intend to keep doing
good
that?
Question. Good question. I think that we're, we like to pay people pretty well as part of that process. We like to reward people. We like to promote people. We like to give them the right training that they need. And the door's always open, like always open for all of that. So, I think that helps. And then I think that just having a collaborative nature that we've tried to set in the office where, we've got lots of specialists in the business on, whether it's geotechnical or whether it's, fit out or whether it's rigging or whatever it is, try to like bond that a little bit more. And, we're going through a big exercise at the moment with how do we use all this amazing experience that we've got internally in the business to, just be the best. Like, and everyone strives for excellence in our business, and I don't know why, but they all do. It's amazing. Like, I love it. And everyone just really strives for the best. So I think that's probably the team part that's really important to get right and get the culture right and like live and die by the principles that I set out earlier around sort of simplicity and caring and problem solving. And then setting up a business is a completely different minefield. Like, it's cash flow. It's, who are you going to take mentorship from? Because I've set up a business, and the last business I ran was with my best mate, and we used to run a shirt business of all things, but it was me and him at a table together. It was great fun. But, this is a proper business and it's great fun, and you have to treat it right. You're thinking about people's futures, and you want to make sure you give people the best future you can. So what we've always done is I've always taken as much mentorship from everyone I possibly can. So I've got a few really key mentors that help me grow and help me reflect and put a mirror up a lot. And if something's going wrong and I point at somebody to say it's wrong, they usually go, no, that's probably just you thinking about it in the wrong way.
So you may or may not want to say the names, but who are those mentors or where they come from to give you that value you need?
Yeah, so one's John Matthews here in Manchester as well. So one's John Matthews. He's helped me an awful lot. So from John Matthews Architects, he's rode the storms through many different businesses and gets it. Right. Incredibly passionate guy that's really helped me in consultancy and running consultancy and what that means. And me and John could talk shop for many hours, and we do, and we meet up, which is really nice. One's a guy called John Butterworth, and he runs a big national infrastructure business as well, and a sort of DNO that sits as part of that, and has really helped me. He's a big leader. He's also my father-in-law as well, which probably helps a bit. He's pretty firm with me, to say the least. He tells me when I'm wrong a lot of the time, usually over the dinner table. Excellent. And another guy is called Neil Armstrong. He runs United Infrastructure, is now what it's called, but it was United Living until recently, which is sort of development, contracting and infrastructure. And he's a super humble guy, and he never really sees problems as problems, which I really respect. He sort of manages to resolve things, and he has a really nice demeanor about things, and that's helped me loads. And then I'd probably say my wife, who works in the business, is the last mentor that helps me as well. I should probably plug that as much as I can to get me some brownie points. But, she's a sounding board to every decision that we make together. She levels me out when things are going down. She brings me back up as well. And some people say that you shouldn't have your partner working in the business, but, I'm really lucky that, she provides a lot of value in it.
And was she with you from the start in terms of
I dragged her in. I dragged her kicking and screaming. She had an amazing job for an insurance broker in London.
Right.
And she was set to do really well, probably she'd probably be like CEO by now because she's so smart. And I dragged her into the business and I said, can you help? And she stayed, and you know, we've grown this business together, and you know, that's you know, it's been amazing.
And are you both able to kind of, you know, draw a line, right? We're at home now, or is it just
sometimes?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd say that we've got better at it over the years. And just by the looks that Amy gives me, she's like, "Shut up now, done." So I'd say it's got better. It's got much better, and like we tried to disconnect from it as well, because you know you don't want your life being run by every decision being made at work. You don't want to bring up everything around the table as well. So you know.
Yeah, I imagine there's times where it gets tense if you let's say you two have disagreed in the workplace, then you got to go up and sit having tea together.
Yeah, I mean, we're different people, so like we think about things differently, but we never really argue about anything at work. Right? That never really happens, which is really nice. And I hope that all the team think that anyway. But yeah, we don't really disagree, and we work in very different environments as well. So she works in the operations side, you know, finance and sort of sorting out the marketing and like, you know, making sure the brand's right and all that sort of stuff. And I'm more on the delivery side, so we sort of work in different parts of the business, so that really helps. We're still only a tiny business, but it does help a lot.
Yeah. Look, clearly, to achieve what you've done, you must be quite a driven guy, but you equally do seem quite chill most from what I'm sat opposite now. You seem like you're quite...
I don't know. Like, I try to stay humble about everything, which, you know, I think you always should.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how chill I actually am and what the team would say about me, but...
Fair enough.
Working hard is super important to me. Always has been. And, you know, finding solutions to problems has always been super, super important to me. So I've always wanted to make sure that that's reflective of the business that we're in as well. And I think it is. So I'm really proud of that.
Good. I think, and there's nothing wrong with all that either, is there? I think we're in a funny place in society at the moment where it's almost kind of being negative about hard work and wanting to achieve and just do what you have to do. And I worry for society in that regard.
You know, things don't get done unless you work at them, right? So, you know, whether that's projects, whether that's business, whether that's, you know, whatever it is. And I you know, things, you really have to go at them, and you have to do as much as you possibly can to keep growing. You know, and like I said earlier, like the one thing I've always done is just sort of try and absorb as much as I possibly can. I don't think I'm perfect, you know, and I think I've got a lot to learn. And I think
anybody who thinks they're perfect, he's clearly not perfect.
You know, I'm sort of like, I've got so much to learn still.
Good.
You know, we're still a young business. There's so much potential in the business as well that I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And that's only going to grow with learning, and I'm just obsessed with that.
Brilliant. Amazing. Tristan, thank you. It's been a really lovely session, and I wish you the best for continued growth with Motion, which I'm sure will come. Thanks. Sounds like you're going in the right direction. Last question, which you may have already answered, and I'm still kind of working out to get this best or ask this best. But in your career, who would you say has been your best boss or mentor? And you alluded to those three mentors certainly in the business now. So maybe you would say like before that.
Like my like first PM boss. You know what? I've actually got two, right? So I was reflecting on this on the way over here, and I was thinking, who is it, right? So my first PM boss was a guy called Peter Blake. He was just awesome. He was like the MD of the business, and it wasn't massive. It was sort of 30 plus people, but he gave me the time and the energy that I needed to understand things. He gave me the mentorship that I needed, and gave me the tools to unlock it as well. You know, whether it was like working weird patterns because I was like training for something. You know, I used to do triathlons at a time, stupidly, God knows why. And like he'd just be like, yeah, cool, do it as you need to. And this is a time before flexible hours were even a thing, and just like get your hours done, do a great job. And I was I really respected that. and he gave me the tools to unlock things and give me the time. And I think like time is the most important thing. And then my ex-boss at Acom was a lady called Sarah Body, and she's just fucking awesome in the way she dealt with people. Like she could breeze through problems. She could like unlock issues without having any confrontation in front of her.
Right.
And I just thought, wow, that's incredible. Like, and I still like we're good friends, and like I respected it so much. Like even to this day, I'm like, you know what? She can unlock things in ways that other people can't, and it's through demeanor more than anything.
Right. Brilliant. Good. Tristan, thank you. Really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Take care. Good. Thank you.